Welcome to the Phantom Zone.
And now, comics.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Hello and welcome to And Now Comics. We are looking at a picture of Old Man Shaq from Uncle Drew, which we'll get roundabout how that we got to there. But I'm Lou Gonzalez. Joining me this week is Connor Irving.
Hello.
And John Seiler.
R.I.P. Hoxpox.
Yeah, but we just have to wait because the new one is coming out. What is it called?
Age of X-Men? No.
No. Well, they have like all the books at the end. But
Dawn of X.
Dawn of X. Yeah. That's the next one.
And then it's Fate of X, and then it's just X, and then Fast X.
Yeah, it says
Fate of the X.
But Dawn of X is in red.
2X of Fast X.
Oh, I guess Dawn of X isn't a book. I guess it's just all those other books.
Yeah, I think that's what they're building towards. We'll get into that when we start talking about powers, but I'm fairly certain they're cooking something long term here.
Mm-hmm. So we'll start with news. We had New York Comic Con this past week. So John, as our news anchor, you can walk us through the stories.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess these aren't in like particular order. They're basically just whatever tab I opened up first. So Cliff Chiang, while at New York Comic Con, announced that he is currently writing, drawing, coloring, lettering a new DC Black Label comic. Cliff Chiang, most people know, at least for his DC work, as the artist for most of the New 52 Wonder Woman by Brian Azzarello. He also just got done doing Paper Girls for Image Comics and Brian K. Vaughan. So
I love Paper Girls.
I love that. What do you call that Wonder Woman book?
Mm-hmm. I feel super behind on Paper Girls, and now that it's over, I kind of want to
totally
pick it back
fair
up and give it a try.
Yeah,
it was like one of those books where it's like you cannot read it month to month.
Yeah, I'm very much behind that.
And but yeah, I love Cliff Chiang. I think like a lot of the stuff he's done for DC has been really good. Like Where the Creeper is like pretty underrated, and he did like a really great one shot with Brave and the Bold with Batgirl, Wonder Woman, and Zatanna, and yeah, like I'm excited to basically see like whatever he does with Black Label.
Yeah, it would be. I'm interested to know what character he's gonna play with, because again, like his Wonder Woman stuff was great. I want to pop an image that has like a ton of characters in it.
I mean, like money's on it probably being a Batman book, just because of
I would actually say
Black Label is.
There's so many. I don't think so.
Well, that's what we've said the last 3 Batman Black Label books.
Yeah, but we're getting some more. I guess there's like other ones that are connected, but not necessarily Bat books. No.
Okay.
I feel like Cliff Chiang likes to do stuff that's like a lot of monsters, a lot of weird shit, a lot of magic.
Oh, his monsters look super cool.
Yeah, well, his like Wonder Woman thing, he did all the Greek god stuff. So he definitely made her more Amazonian looking than other people. She was darker skin, jet black hair. She looked more Greek, more muscular, less busty.
I'd like to see him do Shadow Pack, or some kind of magic-based DC stuff, because I
do say he did touch on the new gods a bit in that Wonder Woman book.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be interesting too.
But yeah, I guess we'll see on that. I guess they're relaunching Star Wars as new #1 by Charles Soule and Jesus Saez. Darth Vader is a new #1 by Greg Pak and Raphael Enetko. And the books are set after Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
So,
I haven't read the Star Wars book in a while. I think when I first went to Marvel, I read Vader and then Dr. Aphra for a little bit, and then I just fell off.
Yeah, that's like the one thing I kind of want to read is those first 25 of Vader, and then
they were really good.
And
then they're really good.
Series.
Yeah, I guess because I really dug the Dark Horse stuff, so I was like, kind of not like I was just like, oh, that was the part of like the Disney deal that like really I was just like, oh, I can't believe we're losing that, because it was so good. Like what they were doing there was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, moving on from that, Amanda Conner and Jimmy Panamani announced they are launching a 4-issue Harley Quinn: The Birds of Prey series over at DC Black Label. So this should be separate from the Brian Azzarello Birds of Prey book. And I
As
want to
well
say,
as the other Black Label Harley book.
yeah, I mean, like, the thing about it is with like at least like the Harley Quinn, like Harleen feels different than what it seems like the other books are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I talked about it on here where I was like Brian Azzarello doing Birds of Prey is not the kind of guy I'd want to do like a Birds of Prey book in in 2020. But hopefully it's good. Amanda Conner and Jimmy Panamani doing Birds of Prey is totally the team that I would want to have do Birds of Prey in 2020. I think that they have always had a lot of fun with like the female characters they've written and done art for. Like their Power Girl run is just super underrated. Like their Harley Quinn run is super great. And I'm like really excited to see them take over characters like Black Canary and Huntress. I think they'll have a lot of fun with them. And Renee Montoya is supposed to be in the book too. Cassandra Cain's going to be in the book. But yeah, like I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like the biggest Marvel news to come out was that Donny Cates is taking over Thor.
I'm excited for that. I love Donny Cates.
Yeah, like I have like a newfound interest now in Marvel, so I love the design for this, like that they posted with it. So
go check out Donny Cates' Venom. Like his Venom run is really good. The collected version is like a lovely little way to jump into the way he tells stories, which is long form. He likes to tell stories over a lot of issues.
Yeah, Donny Cates is like one of those writers I assume is very good, but he's always writing characters that I just kind of don't really care about. Like, it's like I imagine that Venom book is very good.
Yeah.
I assume Absolute Carnage is very good, but
I'm
just like I'm not like a I'm a Mac Gargan guy. I'm a Flash Thompson guy.
The characters around Spider-Man or like around what he's doing or more your style.
Like, and I assume he's added a lot of depth to Eddie Brock, but for me, like
he's got a kid.
Eddie Brock was just always like the dipshit who's just mad at Spider-Man.
Yeah, no, there's still a lot of that going on.
But yeah, like I don't know, I'll probably like give it a try. But yeah, the full team is Nick Klein doing art and Matt Wilson doing colors. Nick Klein previously worked on Deadpool, Winter Soldier, Captain America, co-creator of Drifter, Viking, Dancer. So,
is that all one title, or is that like 3 separate books?
Yeah, Drifter, Viking, Dancer, are 3 different books.
Okay, but
I remember
would be one cool
Viking kind of being a hot book. I do not remember Drifter or Dancer.
Okay,
but yeah, seems like a pretty cool team. It seems like Dial H and the Wonder Twins got more issues added to their run, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
It also
they both been really good.
It also speaks wonders to basically the longevity of Wonder Comics. So
yeah, the only thing that hasn't had any new issues in a while is what's her name that everyone was hyped for a while.
Naomi. Naomi's on break.
She did pop up in a Superman book recently, I think, or someone else's book.
Yeah. So they also added a new Wonder Comics book launching in February 2020, Amethyst by Amy Ryder with art by Amy Ryder, which is like it's like I remember when the new
she's
52,
in this Young Justice book.
Yeah, I remember when the New 52 happened, and then they announced that Sword and Sorcery Amethyst book, and I was just like, man, like I don't know, like this book seems like okay, but it's like if you're gonna do a book like this, like Amy Ryder needs to be doing the art, like exactly, and it's like 10 years or whatever, so many years later, we finally get Amy Ryder doing Amethyst. It's like Amy Ryder is like so good. And her character designs are great, and all of her pages are just super colorful, which I think an Amethyst book needs to be. Like,
that was the first thing that grabbed me is like it jumps out of you on the screen.
and I thought that was like the big folly with when they tried to introduce Amethyst in the New 52 was like they like made her darker and they made her world darker, and it's just like, come on, man, like it's just like it didn't jive with what I felt like that character needed to be, and her showing up in Wonder Comics has been very good, and like I'm very excited to see the series like go forward. The other big news to come out from Marvel was that Al Ewing and Juan Cabal is going to be the new team for Guardians of the Galaxy going forward.
Who's in the Guardians right now? Is it the usual crew?
It looks like Richard Rider and Star-Lord, Rocket, Moondragon, this guy with a gun and this lady with a sword. Or it also could be a guy with a sword.
That looks like Fela Vale.
Oh, in the bottom?
Yeah, because it looks like she has the Marvel symbol, but she looks like her brother a bit. Like, because this is like a real deep cut. Like Genus Vale was like eventually had like the blue skin and white hair.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they could have her do that. And if Moondragon's on the team, it makes sense for her to be on the team because they were a long-running couple for forever. Yeah,
and Al Ewing is usually like a pretty good writer for this kind of like galactic stuff. So,
well, yeah, he did Immortal Hulk, and I've only read a little bit of that, but it was very good.
And
it's really like the biggest book of the year.
And Ultimates.
Oh, is it? Would you look at that?
Oh my god, I didn't even like get down this news about Wolverine.
Wolverine?
Oh yeah, okay, so I did not add that news into the thing. So, the first book in the Wave 2 of the new Age of X-Men books was announced, and it's a Wolverine book by Benjamin Percy.
What has he done?
Benjamin Percy's pretty cool. Like, he was the writer for New 52 Green Arrow for about 50 issues. But most people will probably know him as the writer for Stitcher's Wolverine, The Long Night, and Wolverine Down in the Bayou, wherever that second season was called.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I haven't listened to him, but so I've heard good.
So he's got some Wolverine skills to pay the bills. And the artist for the book will be a rotating team of Andy Kubert and Victor Bogdanovic. Which Adam Kubert's got some he's got some legacy with that character. And but it's just like I don't know if like Wolverine's like kind of like one of those characters where I'm like I might read it. I don't know. If it's like I think it just kind of depends on what Wolverine's role is within the island nation of Krakoa. So, but Victor Bogdanovich was the artist for New 52's The Silencer, bunch of the Arkham books. It looks like some fill-in Aquaman issues, Action Comics, The Oz Effect. So, yeah, not bad. I'm already picking up all of the Dawn of X stuff already, so if it all continues to be like pretty good, I might give Wolverine a shot. And then the last bit of news is, at least for Marvel, is Dan Slott, Christos Gage, and Pete Woods are doing Iron Man 2020, which will launch in the year 2020, and it will have Arno Stark.
So who is Arno Stark?
Yeah.
I believe that Arno Stark was the Iron Man for the 2020. Was he?
Wait, is he like the younger clone one?
Help me, Wikipedia, because I don't know shit about Iron Man. Yeah, he's the Iron Man from Iron Man 2020. Arno Stark is Tony Stark's future first cousin once removed, and the unscrupulous Morgan Stark's son. Arno inherited the company Stark Industries rather than use the armor for heroic deeds. He prefers to act as a hired mercenary or commit acts corporate espionage to cripple his competitors for industrial gain.
Sounds like Iron Man.
Yeah, his first appearance is in a book called Machine Man 2020.
Oh God,
wow.
Machine Man.
But yeah, I mean, it's like if you're gonna like do a relaunch of Iron Man 2020, you might as well do it in 2020. Much like
Yeah.
how they're doing the 2099. They're like, what's 100 years from now? Or like, or no, what was the reason for 2099? They're like, it was like, oh, like when was 2099? Like 20 years ago or something like that. And they're like, well, what's 200 years from now? And you're
Oh
like,
yeah,
wait,
it was.
and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, I can't remember. There was like some bits around it.
Yeah, and then the last bit of comic announcement news is that Kyle Starks, who is a writer artist that I really love, who is the writer artist for Sex Castle, Kill Them All, Rock Candy Mountain, writer of the Rick and Morty comics, is going to be doing a book called Old Head that just went onto Kickstarter either today or yesterday, and it's the elevator pitch is Space Jam meets Fright Night. Old Head is a 124-page graphic novel. It is the madcap action horror story of the world's toughest former pro basketball player returning home with his daughter to learn about his destiny and his mother's mysterious past, while right next door, Dracula and his goons are on the eve of their bloodiest holiday. What follows is a ton of frights and action and comedy and monsters and tough guy one-liners, the type of thing you expect from one of my books. I filled this book with jokes and punches and a rude amount of vampire decapitations. If you like a dope, tough guy beating butt stories, this is for you. If you love action comedy, this book is for you. If you love slam dunks or Draculas, you're going to be over the moon. Yeah, and just like every book he does, it's just like super fun and really tongue in cheek, and I love it, and I'm totally gonna give this a try.
Yeah, it definitely sounds fun.
Actually, like, you know, it's like funny because he ended up also doing a Mars Attacks book for Dynamite, and I was like talking to him at Emerald City earlier this year, and he was just talking about how because I was like, oh man, I love like all these different books you've done. And he's like, oh, like have you read Mars Attacks? And I'm like, no. And he's like, seriously, if you really love like Kill Them All and Sex Castle, like you really need to read my Mars Attacks stuff, because I think it's like the best stuff I've ever written. Like even like when you go into Who I Am, and then he lists like Sex Castle and Kill Them All and the Rick and Morty comics and Assassination. Like he even lists like the Mars Attacks books. And I need to just like sit down and like buy those trade, or like how many. I don't think that he like wrote like a trade or two, but like I definitely need to check them out. And that's news.
All right.
Wow.
All right. So I guess
good go for us. Do we bite the bullet and finally talk about it?
Yeah, I think we should talk about the issue and then like the run overall.
Yeah, let's talk about who loses, because that's Mystique. She loses in all of this.
Yeah.
But like it makes sense. So we'll get there, but like so I've got my issue over here. Because like there was like one set of characters when they revealed their name, which is what I was trying to look up, and I couldn't remember what their goddamn name is.
Yeah, it's Batman.
No, what are they? The librarian dude, whatever their people are.
Oh yeah, the blue people.
Yeah. They have a name now.
Yes. Well, that's what I was looking up. So to start this book, we go through like 4 pages are basically the exact same pages from the first issue.
Yeah.
Of Powers. And then we jump, and this is where we get the reveal that there's some sort of nature preserve, and that is what these blue people are. And then we see Wolverine, and they're talking in some language, and then they switch to English.
I think that's like telepathy.
Yeah, and then it's revealed that the only 2 mutants they've allowed to live are Wolverine and Moira, and that it seems that Wolverine's been giving her blood transfusions to keep her alive and young, because they make some sort of note about them being the same blood type.
Yeah. I don't think they're the only 2 mutants left. I think everything there is like a mutant. It's just these are the only 2 that know what's going on.
They're in like a
Yes.
zoo.
Yeah.
Yes. And then it gets into this interesting philosophical question, and we kind of learn, so the blue people aren't mutants. They are a genetically engineered,
Human.
like, humans. But I think they're also biomechanical as well.
Mhm.
And basically they're like, oh, yes, he would have taken over, except that, like, once we were able to do gene editing, like, what's the point of evolution if you can just change your genes? And so that's why we beat you, and he's able to do all the stuff. And basically he's like, yeah, I don't know if, like, I want to join this, like, hive mind thing, because if I don't like it, but then if I join it, I will be beyond time and space. So then if you do your thing, it'll not change the future. But if I let you do your thing, then I won't be part of that. And so it's like this interesting dilemma, and we kind of get a view of what
Humanity and the Phalanx are having a corporate merger.
yes. Well, and it's
So
not a
blasé.
merger; it's a
Hostile takeover.
Yes, that's the bit. Yeah, it's a hostile takeover. And so he's like, "Oh, we'll be part of the god," but we get this kind of look into what Moira's ability actually is. So there's not necessarily, these aren't timelines per se; they're lifetimes. So basically, what he says is, when she dies, the universe basically ends and restarts back at her birth. So that timeline ends at her death. At least that's what I got from it.
I think my personal take is that she's like a prism, and she, through her different lives, she's able to visit different Earths to a degree, and when she dies, the timeline doesn't end there, but she just goes to the next dimension, like the next hop over, and she just starts again with the same memory of the last one.
Yeah, my only thought to, like, counter that, it's one of the things the blue guy said, the librarian says is, I'm trying to find the specific words.
It's pretty wordy. I don't blame you.
Oh, okay. It's when you annihilate this quote unquote timeline or quote reality, then you'll be right back where you started, knowing it, without us knowing anything. But if you live past my becoming a god, then existing beyond space and time, we will know you forever. So her deaths, I think, reset the timeline.
Okay.
But if he moves
see.
beyond the timeline, then they would still know who she was.
Yeah. Okay. That's a pretty good argument there. I'll take that.
Makes her powers so insane, but also explains what the issue is when we get to it. So then, like, Wolverine pops his claws and kills that guy.
It kind of, well, okay, so it also kind of explains also, like, how, in the past, like, Xavier and Moira have a child, and it's Proteus, and, like, why Proteus is, like, so Omega level?
Yes, because they're both basically
Omega
they're
levels.
Omega level, kind of, and then he's, like, Omega level.
Yeah.
But I think that's, like, of all Xavier's kids are, like, Omega level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do like
Legion hasn't shown up, by the way.
Yeah, he's the one that's missing. That's, like, the list of Omega levels. There's, like, 3 that are missing. He's one of them. But to go, like, a couple of lines that the librarian says, like, you thought it was the machines that would defeat you, but we just used them to buy time. Sentinels bought us years. Nimrod's bought us decades. And she's just like, I never saw it. And it's like, yeah, I guess you never will after everything, blah, blah, blah. Immortality, divinity, I have no choice but to become part of a small god. And then Wolverine just, like, stabs him in the fucking head. And then basically, like, yeah, just do what you're going to do. And then she's like, no, I'm not going to close my eyes. My eyes are open from now on. And then, so, okay, here's their name. Homo Novissima. I don't remember them ever.
I think they're new.
You think they're new?
I mean, like, I do not remember them.
Yeah, they name drop him for the first time, as far as I can tell, like 1 or 2 pages before that. He says it himself, and then that's it. It's the most we hear of it.
Yeah, I just Googled it, and it's, like, a new thing. Yeah, no one's... There's, like, oh, they're the true secret enemy behind mutants. And so that's when we pop back to the present. So what we basically learned is that's Lifetime 6, where she died. So that's, like, our return. So
everything that's happened in X-Men Year 1000 is
Yes.
Life 6 of Moira.
yes.
Just to reread for the audience.
Yes. And I don't remember, I have to find, like, I don't remember what Life 7 and 8 were. And Life 9 was the Apocalypse one, I think.
Yeah, I'd have to go and dig that up somewhere.
Yeah, I'm looking up right now, but so we kind of get back to the conversation, and then she kisses Xavier, and basically they have this whole thing. It's like, all right, fuck this, we got to do it. And then we get to the Moira journal, which is kind
And
of
that's
similar.
why it took me so long to get here.
So
Yeah.
also, it's not really explained if this journal takes place over the course of like one of her lifetimes.
Yeah, it's most likely based on how they describe it to take place in the House of X timeline.
Because
Although it is confusing because
entry
then they lose
entry
Magneto.
17. Well, entry 17 is them her talking about making Proteus.
Yes, which I was like, oh, that's like dirty. Like she goes full sinister, like, oh, genetically manipulates them to have a child.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you get a lot of information from this page, especially like now you're kind of learning that Moira is the shadow boss for all of this.
Okay, so I looked it up. So Set Life 7 is when she goes like full military Rambo style and tries to kill all the Trasks.
Mm-hmm.
Life 8 is when she joins Magneto.
Because if you find out that like basically like it doesn't like that the Sentinel project led to Nimrod, which also led to like this, like the very first thing you would do is like, okay, well, shit,
Take them out.
Let's take out all the military people, or like, and then that'll take out all the machines.
Yeah. And then that doesn't work. And then she joins Magneto to conquer the US, and then that doesn't work. And then Life 9 is the Moira Apocalypse, which was X squared, like X number
That was
2.
100. Yeah.
Yes. So X to the third power was Life 6, which was 1000. X squared was Life 9, which is Apocalypse, which is year 100. And then it seems 0 and 1 are House of X.
Yeah, that's so far what I can gather from this.
And that's the last life, right?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. So, okay. I'm looking at the timeline. So, based on what she's written, the Magneto thing, this would make sense in House of X. So, in year 47, when she's 47 years old, is when Moira and Xavier and Magneto have a schism. That's when Genosha happens. And then year 49 and year 50, she fakes her death. So it's like after Genosha, then Magneto basically like comes back to them.
Yeah.
So that would make sense that basically like Life 10 of Moira, like Moira X, has been the current timeline of X-Men. Because they've also said that like this whole story is like not an Elseworld, not out of continuity, it's not like anywhere, it is like in the Marvel U. Like this is happening perpendicular to the rest of the Marvel U.
Yes.
It's like fitting a square peg in a square-ish hole, because it's like if you look with a lens, like not everything's going to like line up, but it's like the idea that it's like within the Moira journal, it's like, okay, here are the parts where like these things like kind of line up.
Mm-hmm. But that's what they're saying, but that's not exactly how it fits, because it's definitely a retcon of the mutants and the X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, so she has Proteus at 31 years old. I'm looking at the timeline in Moira X, and they recruit Xavier when she's 43. So, and so that meeting with Xavier is when she's 17. So from 17 through like a huge chunk.
Moira is 17 in this like
that's what
thing
it says.
With Xavier.
She enrolls at Oxford at 16. She meets Xavier at 17.
And people like give anime flack for like what characters look like. She looks like she's in like her early 20s.
Yeah. So she meets him, which kind of makes sense. She's just kind of 60s-ish, I guess. And he looks very young too. So like her plan starts at year 17. Well, I guess before that, but like she meets Xavier at that moment. And then there's just like a huge gap in like the time, like the check marks. When she's 25, she marries Joseph McTaggart. Then she founds that's at 25. 27, she founds the Murr Research Institute.
Muir Island, yeah.
Yeah. 28, she wins the Nobel Prize.
I get that
And then
reference.
31, she gives birth to Proteus. So, and then 43 is when her and Xavier go and recruit Magneto. And they work together for 4 years, and then Magneto splits. 2 years later, Genosha happens. A year later, Moira fakes her death, which is what we get to in, entry 57, where they use a Shi'ar golem to fake her dead body. So the world has believed for 2 years that Moira is dead and that she is basically a shadow puppet. But like the notes are also interesting. Like they say like Xavier's infatuation with mutant genetics, and then like she's annoyed that they went and got Sinister, and she says lines like, you know, what is it with men? They always think they can shape the world. And it's like, lady, that's what you're doing. Which she then kind of comes to the realization in the last note.
Yeah.
So the golem, I assume, the faker death is the Moira that dies of the legacy virus.
Yes, I guess that's been done. Yeah, but that makes sense. Yes, which she would have only died of the legacy virus if she was a mutant.
Because I assume, yeah, because I don't think she comes back from the legacy virus. Yeah, like she shows up in Chaos War, and there's like a big thing with her, Deadly Genesis, but like I don't. Well, I guess if Vulcan shows up, I guess Deadly Genesis is still in continuity, and that shit sucks.
Well, so
because Vulcan sucks.
Yes, and he will be returning soon. So from here is what? Yeah, Vulcan's in that, you know, all the Summers book.
Gabriel Summers is in that photo.
Oh, I don't know what they all look like. I just know he sucks.
Yeah, it's Scott, his two brothers, his dad.
Vulcan didn't show up during this whole entire thing.
No, which we'll get to. Like, I saw this one image, which is interesting, and we'll get to it after we read all this, because that apparently is one of the alternate covers for Powers, called the Foreshadowing cover.
Yeah.
So that's when we jump to, I guess, the day before the party, and Magneto and Xavier show up. They bring tea or some bullshit, and then she's like, "Oh, like, you know, why the fuck are you really here?" And he's like, "Oh, where's Diffuse Kindness?" And she's like, "I got 2 goddamn doors here."
And basically not to spoil like the end of this issue, but they also don't ever explain why Xavier is wearing that helmet, which I assume will be like, and that's the thing about like this event is like there's gonna be like a lot of things that people are gonna be like, well, like they didn't explain this thing, or like they just dropped this thing and they just like left it there, and I'm like, well, like because I think like for a lot of people you have like that realization like halfway in that like this event is actually not a traditional event in that it has a beginning and end. Like in fact, like this is just basically like a beginning. It is a starter event.
Yep. It is a 12. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, that's probably what you were going to say, Connor. It's like, this is kind of the start, like it's not a reboot or a retcon, but it's kind of like it's not even, like, it's like a hard reset in a weird way.
I'm going to say it's a soft reboot in the sense that this is a great place for people like me who have been interested for years on jumping in on X-Men to actually finally do it, because this is super small, super digestible, and it is a great point to kind of tell you, okay, this is canon. This is what you need to know going forward on if you want to buy any of these books.
Because like I've listened to like some people talk about how and I think it's like some podcasts I listen to who are like a little bit like I don't know, like I don't want to like knock them for being like older, but it's like the idea that it's like they're very like kind of like what they want out of the story. And House of X and Powers of X is a thing where it's like a non-traditional-esque story, and kind of like doesn't like really like it doesn't like how do I want to explain this? I know a lot about X-Men because like it's like I like through my readings of X-Men, watching the show, watching the movies, listening to podcasts. So for me, like this event, at least to me, is like really good because it plays upon like all that stuff. And I feel like a lot of people who might walk into this might be like kind of like walking into the woods and not like really kind of like figuring out like where they need to go. But I think with Hickman's like data drops, I think does like a really kind of good job of like kind of spoon feeding you like the big ideas are happening, and like yeah, sure, like even for me, like the year 1000 stuff is just kind of incomprehensible even after we're all kind of done with it. But then like I think the sum of the parts are like really great.
Yeah, well, because it was like we said, like it was, and where it fits into her timeline makes the other timelines make way more sense.
And it makes like the mystery of the book like totally worth it. It makes like the rest of the book, I feel like, you know, going back and rereading things and figuring things out and putting the puzzles everywhere. And I understand like for like a lot of like people that might sound like a lot of work. But I think it's like if you're into X-Men, it's like you're already kind of in that brain like wave of kind of putting stuff together anyways. And so like it's been kind of like frustrating like when you listen to like a lot of podcasts where they're like, oh, like I have no idea what's happening in this book. And I'm like, well, they kind of explain to you in the book, and then also if you don't, like there's a huge community of people who are also talking about the book and also like kind of figuring things out. And I feel like
Well, that's kind of like
House and Power have been like a very great social book because unlike you know, Secret Invasion,
any other event comic
or or Doomsday Clock, like there's no big fan community talking about Doomsday Clock.
Well, I would say it's kind of like a comic version of Lost in many ways, which was not a show I was ever into. I think I've only seen one episode, but it's like it's an event. There's a mystery, and then the mystery is like it's the mystery itself is the reason to read. And then now that we kind of know, it's more like we know how we got these books were like the roadmap of how we're getting to where the X-Men and Mutantdom is now in the Marvel universe.
Yeah. I think these books, especially this series, kind of going back to what John was saying, it's a great way of letting the reader feel like a little detective, slowly piecing everything together and making their own theories week to week to week to week, and really engaging everybody else. Like last week, I got really excited because I had a theory about how this all ends, and now I've read it and I'm wrong. Like I know I'm wrong, but that's the best part is because they changed that, and it made me feel good because I don't know what's coming next, and I find that to be the most exciting.
Yeah, and as a group, we were also very right on a bunch of things as well.
Oh, totally.
We were all wrong on what was going to happen with the year 1000, which I don't think any of us could have guessed what was going to happen. But I do think like the parts of what I say, like when I say like a hard reset, is like the things that are the reset is really the personalities of three of the biggest, possibly like biggest players in the mutants, and specifically Xavier. Like Xavier's mentality and personality is a hard reset. Like this is not an Xavier that has ever truly existed ever before. And I would say Magneto's definitely gotten a bit of a reset, and Moira's whole thing is a reset of her character.
It's an Xavier who's not running the show, and I think, and I mean, so like there have been times where there have been Xavier who's died or Xavier who's exiled from the X-Men, who is like not the leader of the team, but I feel like this is like the first time in a long while where it's like he is a figurehead within the X-Men and he is the one who's not running things. Like really the whole Island Nation Krakoa, like this whole thing with the Hellfire Club, every single bit of this is all basically ran by Moira McTaggart.
Yes. And they get into that in this issue where like they discuss, which is kind of like where we're at now in the book, to go back to it, is like this is where they discuss the council and like why everybody is where, and Moira's like, well, Emma's up to stuff, and he's like, yeah, she's up to stuff, but like she's down, so like don't worry. Yeah, she's like she's down, and like we had to put Sinister on there because it's basically better to keep your enemies close.
We put Exodus like along with him because like Exodus is a guy who's like kind of a troublemaker, but he's also like a pretty good soldier. So
Yeah, he has an unflinching ideology, but so he's like kind of the anti-sinister. So sitting them next to each other will kind of cancel them out, which we saw in the last issue of House.
But
And
then, my girl, Mystique, on this castle, and the one thing she wants is to bring back Destiny, which has been said on this podcast.
Yeah.
I want Destiny back.
And
Morgan,
that's obviously going to be a big plot point going forward.
And Moira's like, oh, no, we cannot bring back Destiny.
Well, she doesn't say that. We can't, no precogs on Krakoa. Which there are a bunch.
Well, this is like Magneto. He's like, and Mystique would not agree to join without certain guarantees. Moira says, what did you do? And Xavier says, we promised to bring back Destiny. And Moira, all in bold, you cannot do that. And Xavier's like, we know. And like she specifically is like, there can be no precogs on Krakoa. We cannot, will not tolerate mutants who cannot see the future or who can see the future. Like, and that is like going back to like this idea that every single mutant is welcome on Krakoa. And like this is like the first like actual schism within that idea. It's like every single mutant is welcome on Krakoa except if you can see the future, which I is a very limited amount of mutants who can do that.
Yeah, I had looked up a list, and there was only one that like I knew of, and I don't know where she is or has been.
I mean, there's Blindfold.
The one I saw was Lila Miller.
Lila Miller can see the future. Where is Lila Miller?
Yeah, I looked that up. Like, I don't remember what happened to her after Messiah Complex, as I wasn't reading, but I guess it's...
Lila Miller gets older, and then Lila Miller goes basically through like a rapid age thing, and she gets older, and then she's in a relationship with Jamie Madrox, and it's really fucking creepy and weird because
she doesn't age. She travels with one of his dupes into Bishop's future.
Sure,
and
but
then
it's like the implication that Jamie Madrox is like in a relationship with a character that he is like the last time he saw her was when she was like 13 years old. And like, sure, she's aged up. It's still like vaguely like very creepy. But yeah, like she ended up like having a relationship with Madrox, and they ended up like having a thing, and then she was like written out, and then I stopped reading X Factor around this point because I was just like, this is really stupid. But yeah, like their Wikipedia is they elope in Las Vegas, but the honeymoon is cut short due to wedding priest being murdered the same night. And that's it. Because that was the thing, was that Jamie Madrox has like this big happy ending. It's basically written out, and then they have that X-Men event, Death of X, where a bunch of Jamie Madroxes die, and then they're like, oh yeah, Jamie Madrox is officially dead. And I'm like, why would you do that? Like, why would you write his happy ending and then just be like, oh yeah, he's like dead now?
Yeah, but you can never confirm that. Because that was,
I
can't remember
because then they did like that Jamie Madrox miniseries.
Yeah, which there was was it in his miniseries or an X Factor where he was like, oh yeah, like I put like a bunch of myself all over the place just to like, so I can, it's literally the same thing as like Naruto shadow clones, where when they pop, the information goes back into his head. So he like has one in Shield, he has one in Hydra, he has them, and then there's like the really good story where there's like one that has a family.
I mean, like those are dupes that he did not like specifically put in places. They're like dupes that like wandered off that he did not reabsorb.
Yeah, the Shield one he put there, I believe. And then
the priest one he did not.
No, not the priest. The Shield one, I think the one in Hydra, because then like he goes there and like someone's like, yeah, we obviously knew it was you. Do you think we don't have a file on you? But just as you're watching us, we were watching you.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. So yeah, so basically Moira's explanation is that Destiny, she has ways of seeing me. I'm a weakness because my death ends all of this.
I
And
mean,
this is again to go to like what I said with her powers. Like, if Moira dies, I believe the way that her powers work, it kind of resets the time stream back
I'd
to
be
her
also
birth.
interested about the people who are missing, the Omega mutants who are missing from the time stream have, like, not necessarily like precog powers, but powers that could affect the time stream.
Oh, one of the people I saw in there was, does
Jamie.
Psylocke have some? Was it Jamie magic?
Jamie's
Or-
missing.
Yeah, and is it Psylocke have some precog stuff or Jamie or something?
Jamie
the
does.
lists- Yeah,
It's Jamie Braddock.
yeah, but he's been gone for like a while now, right? But his sister's on that Excalibur book, so back in her OG.
Psylocke's powers are like not. I mean, it's like
No.
it's psychic, and it's like she can like
Telekinetic.
psychic.
Yeah, but I mean, like the fact that his sister is the leader of that book
yeah.
is interesting. And basically they're just like, yeah, we're just gonna keep putting her off and putting her off. Which part of me is like, why do they need Mystique for anything?
I mean, Mystique is pretty powerful. Like, I mean, she's a shapeshifter. You can like use that a lot. I think it's like within mutantdom, she's like a pretty big character, and so it's just like if you're going to, it's like it's like she's like the representative for the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
So it's like if you bring in Mystique, you bring in like like Avalanche and Blob and Pyro and like those characters. Like the reason you bring in Exodus is because you want all the people who are considered acolytes. So it's like you bring in like Anne Marie and like Joanna Cargill and like all them losers. No, I'm sorry, Joanna Cargill.
It's not like they're listening. You don't have to worry.
Yeah, they're not real people.
But like I don't want to like. It's like Sinyaka's a loser. Joanna Cargill is absolutely not a loser.
Yep. So we have like a little bit of these pages left. So what's interesting is like they're like, oh, but like we'll put it off to all of them, but one day they deserve to know the truth. Just like, and then Magneto basically in bold, just like Charles and I did, whereas like, you really want them to know that we always lose. And basically the two of them are like, the truth is that until now we've always lost, but this time it's going to be different. And Magneto's like, for we are different. I guess because she finally shared the knowledge with them. And then we cut back to their big orgy party, which still has the creepy thing of Banshee staring at his daughter.
Well, no, that's his.
No, that's Banshee staring at Siren. Yes. He's just giving her a look. It's from the last book. And then she goes and runs off to be on the stage with Dazzler.
I mean, wouldn't you?
I thought Siren was the sister of Banshee.
No, that's his daughter.
Oh, you're right. God, it's so weird. Because Banshee also looks like he's like in his like 40s, and Banshee and yeah, and Siren's like it just doesn't look like it's. I forget. I forget like how long these characters have existed. But yeah, it's like Banshee and Siren are just like looking, and they're like, hey, like what?
It's a lot of the same panels from the house, just like cut around differently.
Oh, it's the same panels.
Yeah, literally the exact same panels. I have them both pulled up.
Like
including on
this,
the next page too, with the Apocalypse.
Like this page with Siren and Dazzler, like singing, and then like fireworks come out. It's like so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like the whole first 2 pages or 3 pages are the exact same ones from the first issue.
Yeah.
So we get
it recontextualizes. Just gives you more. Yeah. Sorry.
But yeah, that's
the last pages, which is basically Magneto's like, fuck it, let them come.
Yeah, let's fight. Let's do it.
Yeah. Let them see what they can do.
And then we have our usual reading order of Dawn of X with X-Men #1, October 16th, then Marauders, Excalibur, X-Force, New Mutants, and then Fallen Angels. It
bums me out that I have to wait so long for New Mutants.
See, the X-Men #1 I'm really interested in. Obviously, that's the summer theme. But I will definitely get each issue. Who's leading X-Force? Is that
Wolverine.
the one with Magic?
That's the one with
because if you look at the pictures, so X-Men, I'm trying to see here.
God,
so X-Men is the one with Summers. Marauders is the Kitty Pryde. Excalibur is the one with Psylocke and Apocalypse. And then X-Force should be the next image. Oh, X-Force is the one with Jean Grey, Wolverine, Beast,
Sage,
Domino. Yeah.
and yeah, I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, it's Jean Grey, Domino, Sage, Quinn Quire, Wolverine, Beast, like Colossus, and Black Tom Cassidy.
Yeah.
That
And
Newsarama thought was fucking Dracula.
Oh god. And then New Mutants that's the one with Magic, Sunspot, I skipped one. No, yeah, that's New Mutants. And then Fallen Angels is the Kid Cable X-23 and the other Psylocke, which I'm still like I'm dumbfounded that there's two Psylocks.
It's Karma.
That's her name now?
Well, no, Karma is like an old New Mutants character.
Yeah.
So the team is Danny Moonstar.
On Fallen Angels, I mean, where it's Kid Cable, X-23, and Asian Psylocke.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and New Mutants is the Magic-led team with Sunspot, and yeah, that's the one you were talking about.
Magic, Chamber, Karma, Wolfsbane, Cypher, Danny Moonstar, and Mondo, who was like who was a Generation X character.
Yeah, I had his toy. Cypher is interesting on that team, as we saw we still have not gotten any. That's one of the unanswered questions, which I guess we could go to quickly through it. Actually, I want to talk about this cover. So one of the covers or powers is this foreshadowing one, which has the Shi'ar bowing to a king, which I guess could be Vulcan, but he looks like Sunspot to me in many ways. But it has Gladiator and then the other douchey Shi'ar guys. It's in the chat.
Yeah, it's the newest image.
Is it a Power of X cover?
Yeah. It's called like the alt cover or something like that.
Yeah, it's Lilandra, it's Gladiator.
Yeah, and it's the foreshadowing cover, which I guess every week the foreshadowing cover has revealed something for one of the books coming out next.
That seems weird that they have variants that are foreshadowing.
But apparently that's what they've done every week, and then this is the last one.
So, also, the end of this book has a bunch of Krakoan pages.
It's one for each of the books coming out,
which I have not deciphered. Has anyone here seen where?
Let's do a quick Google. I already know the opening one says Next X-Men.
Yeah, I think it's mostly probably the names of the books in Krakoan is my guess. But to go on with so most of our questions were answered. I guess one of the ones is to go to the Cypher thing, is that we never really got an explanation for his Warlocky arm, his techno-organic arm, and when he was touching the leaves, that hasn't come up.
Douglock? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Douglock is also a old idea, but
yeah, I mean, it's been around for a while, but it just kind of was there from the get-go, and I'm sure it'll be addressed at some point in one of the books. But I'm trying to think, are there any other unanswered kind of things?
Oh, this is. I might be able to find it real fast.
I don't know, Connor. Were there any things that came up that that never got answers for you?
I kind of touched on it earlier, but this story, it's not over, so I'm not really expecting any answers right now, or at least for the next couple years. Comic books are cool in that sense that they can keep your attention over the span of a year with a single story that comes out month to month to month. And I think this is going to be one of those where we don't know what Moira's planning until way later. Because I think Hickman's doing the entire run of Dawn of X. So, if he's the sole creator of this, he's probably got an answer for everything already. It's just we don't get to see it for a while. So I'm not particularly clamoring for answers right now. everything I need to know, I already know. I should say that's a better way.
That's what, like, if people are like, "Oh, it didn't answer questions," like, I really don't know what questions people had that weren't answered.
Like oh, sorry, go on.
No, I was gonna say, like, it didn't have a conclusion, but like, I feel like 5 books ago we knew it wasn't going to have a conclusion. Like, that's not what this was going to be.
Yeah, the moment that what was it? Powers 2 came out, that's when everything was like, well, this is different. I don't know what to expect from this. Because it's such a weird way to tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he just played a lot of Dead Rising, and he was like, you know what, I'm going to make a story around just like a timeline. A ever-changing timeline, but the same timeline.
The one thing I kind of got tired of hearing people like when I would hear people talk about this book and they're like, "Oh, so the X-Men are like villains now." It's like I don't.
Oh God.
I don't know like how you could read like the rest of this book, and then like your takeaway is it's like, "Oh, they're bad guys," and I'm like,
what?
It's like absolutely not. It's like it's like I feel like I
feel like that's what people would say who don't really know comics, and their view of the X-Men is so peripheral that like all they know is maybe like the movies or some of the cartoons where it's like, no, like none of the things have really covered the horrendous things that have happened to the mutants in the books. And there's really, I'm trying to think, like, there's really been zero comeuppance for the world, the Marvel Comics world, for the shit that mutants have had to endure, like, ever.
No.
Like, even if you go to recent stuff, like, nothing happened post House of M and No More Mutants. Like, there were consequences, but, like, not to the people involved or not to the world in general. So, yeah, like...
I think you were saying something about that last week, John, about how people just don't seem to care about the X-Men. The X-Men will ask for help, but nobody has ever, like, really bothered to aid them when they need it.
Yeah. And it's like, and I brought up, it's like, well, it's a fact that writers just don't put the X-Men in their stories. But at the same time, it's like, these are a sect of people who are like always being downtrodden by the humans who show up in these other books and, are never really protected, never really helped out, and kind of treated as a burden within the Marvel U.
And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, like, people, like, when you have a population of beings that are as powerful as the mutants are, like, it kind of, like, including them and stuff kind of paints you into a corner. Because, like, they can solve kind of, like, all issues on their own unless someone comes in and fucks with them. Because, like, most of the time, there are stories of, like, it's either infighting between the mutants or some human group is trying to kill all the mutants. Those are most mutant stories.
Yeah.
And then the only times there's been differences is like AVX, which is like mutants kind of, which is Cyclops kind of trying to do what, like, a shitty job of what Xavier's doing now, which is like
much more aggressive.
Yeah, like very much in like in a more militaristic style, which makes sense for the character. It's like, we've been fucked with too long, like we're taking a stand. And he becomes kind of the bad guy then, but still, it's like you get what they're going through because they're the ultimate minority, kind of, in Marvel Comics. They represent all minorities in real life. So I just don't understand people, like, it's such a simplistic, like, black and white thing. Like, one of my favorite shots was from the last issue of House, which I think could be a cool thing. Like, what our favorite parts of the story was, like, I loved the panel showing, like, Xavier addressing the world and seeing, like, the Avengers and Doctor Strange and be like, yeah, this is what this book should be like. Where the fuck were you guys when, like, shit went down?
Yeah.
You never helped us. We were always there to do it, like, when you guys needed us. Like, our people joined the Avengers, they did all this stuff, but where the hell were you when shit went down for us? Nowhere. And I think that was, like, one of my favorite shots of the whole series.
I totally agree. That is, like, one of the most... That last issue was just so good. Almost every panel from that page is among my favorite. Like, even the boring delegation of what's happening with Sabretooth and everything. I won't say boring. It's very wordy, but it's super interesting to see all these characters interact with each other in a civil sense.
It's very Games of Thronesy in the best ways. It's like, oh, this is now that we have this thing, we have a government. Therefore, that means there's politics. And it was an interesting way of playing the politics of like people are like, yeah, this should be over, and then other people are like, yeah, well, like then sorry, I just got distracted by a horrible Facebook video.
Oh, it's good.
And it's like, oh, like this is how you kind of deal with it. But yeah, like, did you guys have like a specific, like, I don't know, thing in the story that like popped out at you that's like super memorable or your favorite part?
The whole entire issue where it's like, oh yeah, we're going to bring all the X-Men back. Also, we're going to bring them back through eggs, through these 5 people. And also we're going to end on a giant fucking orgy. And I'm like, wait, what? I was just like, okay. There's the issue where it ends with them just having a giant party, and it's like hinted that it's going to be like, oh, like we're gonna fuck all the X-Men back. And I read it and I was like, have you guys read this book yet? I'm like, and then like 5 hours or like 4 hours later, I'm like, have you guys read this book yet? And they're like, yeah, like I'll read it in like a couple hours. Like, and I'm just like, look, I don't want to feel like I'm a bother, but you should read this book right now because I want to talk about how these X-Men have just said that they're gonna like have a giant orgy. And so yeah, I mean, like this whole entire thing has been like a giant roller coaster. I think it's been one of the most fun events I've read since it's like funnily enough, like since Hickman's Secret Wars. Like lots of really big ideas, lots of cool like set pieces, like lots of like really kind of fun things that could happen like in the books going forward. I'm really excited for the X-Men going forward. I'm really excited that people are excited for the X-Men going forward. I'm just like very happy by the end of this.
Yeah, that's kind of my general takeaway from this. I never thought I'd be interested in the X-Men as much as I am now. To the point where I'm gonna go out and buy all these fucking books just to see what's going on.
Same. And I think I've said since we started this podcast, I've been looking for a thing to bring me back to Marvel. I grew up on Marvel. It was like the first books I've ever had. I have tons of Marvel posters. I watched the cartoons. I owned almost every action figure for like, I don't know, like a 7-year run that Mattel put out. And I fell off of them because I didn't like the stuff that they were doing with their characters. And years ago, and like I didn't like the writing choices. And this has completely turned me. Like, I am excited for X-Men. I'm excited for Marvel. I want to see, like, if I hear like, oh, like this is a book that so and so is going to interact with mutants, I'm like, all right, I need to read that because I want to see what, like, I don't know, any of the Avengers are going to do with Krakoa in the mutants right now. Like, I want to know what the Fantastic Four are going to do. Like, that has to be addressed at some point, I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and I'm like also someone who, like, there are things that Marvel has done that have not been good, and I follow creators more than I do characters or a company, and so like for me, there have been I feel like a lot of really good runs always at Marvel, but when the forefront of Marvel creative is dog shit, it doesn't help trickle down to like the lower books. It's like when a Secret Invasion is really fucking stupid, like people are gonna go check out Gwenpool, or when Civil War 2 is super terrible. People are not going to check out like Power Man Iron Fist or Spider Woman or Patsy Walker Hellcat. So like having Marvel put out a big event book that's great actually makes people want to go check out the rest of the books that are actually happening at Marvel. It's like, hopefully that's something that they realize going forward. Don't make dumb events.
I mean, this year they've had, as far as I know, they have 3 major events, and they've all been pretty good in my opinion. They've had this, they've had War of the Realms and Carnage going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, like, still the Carnage thing, like, really doesn't interest me at all. I do think I will read War Realms. It's just because, like, I was a kid when that character came out, and I have that character is just kind of all of the bad things of the 90s comic book era to me.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree.
I just don't find nostalgia in him. Like, I get it, people do, that's fine. Like, different strokes, different folks. But, like, yeah, I'm just not interested. And I think I saw someone post an image of like a Venom Hulk, and I was like, "Oh, this is the shit that I see from Marvel all the time."
Totally.
I'm like, "No, don't do this."
That was the latest image from the last issue. Is like the symbiote just took over the Hulk or took over Banner.
I was just like, oh, didn't we have Hulkverine? Did we learn nothing? Like, what? Like, what are you doing?
They're just throwing spaghetti at the wall. The Maker's in that one too.
Yeah, and that's where like I'm like, and then I'm like, and I am a big DC guy, and I'm like, and I've been buying more Marvel books recently because of like this. Like, I've dropped a bunch of DC books that I was like, I just have cut a bunch down. So I don't know. Like, I'm excited for what this means, but I also hope that the right lessons are learned by everyone, which to me is, get good creatives and give them things and let them do their thing.
Well, I think they got a solid like writer at least. Hickman seems to know what he's doing, and he seems to have like long goal in mind, and that's what I like to hear. That makes me want to keep coming back and make sure that I get the next issue. Make sure I know what's going on. I am kind of bummed that I have to buy 5 books to get that, but I'll do what I have to do.
Yeah, but that's just for the first one, and I think after that you'll know which books fair
enough.
For you.
I mean,
my guess is like.
I mean, honestly, I don't see myself reading X-Force for very long because, like, my track with X-Force is very low.
See, for me, that's the opposite. Like, that seems like a book I will read, and Fallen Angel seems like a book I will not read.
I'm with you there, man. Fallen Angels and what's the other one?
New X-Men, I'll be cool with.
Excalibur.
I'm down with Excalibur. I'm down with Martyrs. It's really just Fallen Angels right now.
Oh yeah,
first look, I'm like not.
My excitement level on books is basically like from like 1 to 0 is let me find this page real fast.
Yeah, it's the second to last page.
Is Marauders, Excalibur, New Mutants, X-Men, Fallen Angels, and then X-Force.
Yeah, see, it's for me, it's Excalibur, Marauders, X-Men, X-Force, New Mutants, Fallen Angels. And Connor, sounds like New Mutants is like your top.
Oh, New Mutants, I don't know. I just saw the cover for it.
I'm like, I guess that like
right up my alley.
I feel like if New Mutants is a good book, if for the most part, those are characters that haven't gotten much love besides Magic. So like, if you're not like a huge X-Men fan or Mutant fan, like it's like, oh, these are characters that like are kind of you can jump on. I can't figure out what I'm trying to say, but like there's not a ton of backstory and like baggage to go with them. They're mostly newer characters that haven't really been touched with, which is kind of the point of the book.
Totally. That's my favorite aspect. It gives like a light to the underdog, and then like X-Men #1 because I feel like that's going to be the most direct continuation of the story that we have right now. So if I'm going to feed,
I'm so excited for Marauders and Excalibur. I'm like, I want to read a goddamn book with Apocalypse on the goddamn team.
Yeah.
And then I want to read Shadowcat Pirates. Which on its own, it's like, oh, those are exciting books to read. So yeah, I think we're all excited to see where this all goes, and again, hopefully the right lessons are learned. And by again, not just Marvel. Like I'm looking at UDC.
DC can have fun ones. Like we started this podcast, and I started reading comics with DC Metal, and I love Metal. That's a ton of fun.
Yeah,
but that's years old though.
Yeah, which people like that's Snyder, who kind of is running like a bunch of stuff over like books at DC, and he's kind of, we talked about, he's like, him and Hickman are like two sides of the Grant Morrison spectrum.
Oh, totally. And like I love both sides of that spectrum.
Yeah, but I like what Tom King's been doing with Batman and stuff, which hopefully we'll be wrapping up soon. But then you have the problems with Doomsday Clock and all that stuff. It's but then I think Event Leviathan is really cool, and I'm really digging it. And that's a book that's all about a mystery, and maybe that speaks more to myself, where I'm I like mystery books, and now maybe I should look for that more.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. I would say the best thing to come out of this Hoxbox is I am more excited to read comics after reading Hoxbox than I was before.
Oh, totally. This is the first time I've ever been excited to read comics. And Hoxbox is the best way to describe or to get people in. In my future, I'll be handing them my copy. Good. Please read this. You'll like this.
Which for anybody that hasn't been keeping up, I think you can still pre-order for a pretty cheap price on Amazon, the collection, the trade.
Ooh. Is it hard?
I think it's soft cover. I don't think they've announced the let me check my Amazon thing. I think it was $40 and it'll be eventually 60 or something like that.
Here in Canada, we have the hard $4.
Oh, it's 42.
Wow, that's actually not that bad.
42 for the hardcover, and you save $18 for pre-order.
Yeah.
And it comes out right before Christmas.
Yeah, and it uses that the massive oneer of everybody.
Yeah, that's definitely not a real date because it's Christmas Eve. So who knows when that comes out?
I'd say 2020.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's that. And yeah. So I think we can just about close this out. I hope we can find another. We'll probably follow the X-Men stuff. I think for all the issue 1s of everything, but hopefully there's another event coming around the corner that we can kind of do something similar to.
Oh, Marvel has their own murder mystery coming around the corner.
Oh yeah, right, yeah.
I forgot about that. Maybe that won't suck.
Hopefully it's not as bad as Disney or as DC's murder mystery.
What's that one?
The DC one was the oh god, we talked about it.
Crisis.
Heroes in Crisis.
Oh fuck! Right. Sorry, it was so you guys trashed it so hard that I just blocked it out of my brain.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they gave Wally a new book now, and he's in the future, traveling time.
Sure, why not?
To reform himself? I don't know. So yeah. All right. So I guess we can close out. Don't forget to check out all the other shows. You have the Phantom Zone Prime shows. You have Smallville Chronicles. The newer one, which is 3 a.m. Files, where we're talking about the weird and ooky spooky. And I think there's only one episode of that out so far. And what do you guys have? Writing? Twitter handles?
I mean, go buy your local copy of NHL 20, because I work on that now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I work at EA here in Vancouver, so I'm sorry,
nice.
But also, it's not bad.
I play sports games, and I like NHL. I think it's a good sports game.
Yeah, no, I've played so much of NHL recently, man. Just piles of it.
Is the Whalers still a team? Can I play the Whaler?
Not for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
They did bring back a team a couple years ago called the Jets in Winnipeg, but no, they have
also just have a bunch of crazy shit in there.
They have a bunch of football players playing on ice now.
Yeah, that's a big thing. No, seriously, we have people coming from other sports coming into NHL.
Yeah, well, I was going to say the Winnipeg Jets are probably a better team than the New York Jets.
I'll take your word for that. But there are some crazy Easter eggs in this game that I can't say, but they are buck wild.
Do you think the Winnipeg Jets would win a game of football over the New York Jets instead of or do you think the New York Jets would win a hockey game over the Winnipeg Jets?
Neither would win. The Jets,
I think they would
win their own sports.
In their respective sports.
Okay.
There's no way. It's not most of the guys on the football team probably don't know how to ice skate because they probably grew up in the South US.
Yeah.
And then the hockey players have to actually play with their hockey skates on the
turf. That would be so fun. That would be terrifying. You would have just like these giant Canadian men running at you with blades on their feet.
Yeah, but the thing is, giant Canadian men is like half the size of the people in the NFL.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
Now, I think like a defensive tackle now is probably like
that would level.
He's like an average size is probably like 380 pounds and like 6'7", and can run like a 4'7".
You have to be a little bit of fucking dexterity when you're on the ice. So yeah, you're totally right. They would just kill the entire Jet team.
Yeah, but they would they would just be falling on the floor.
Yeah. Now here I have a better question. Who would win in a just a regular hockey game? The Winnipeg Jets or an actual jet?
I don't know.
From Winnipeg.
Would the jet be flying? Like, are they like dropping them out of the air to fight the jet?
Yeah.
Is it just one jet, or is it like multiple?
No, it's a single jet. Yeah.
So is it covering its own goal?
Dive bomb?
Yeah. The jet is allowed to take off before the match starts, but it still has to obey regular hockey rules.
I don't know. I think we have spiraled because we're all tired now.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right. Do you guys have any other plugs?
I'm good.
You can find me on Twitter at JohnJOHN_FN_ Seiler SEILER. Same on Instagram, where I will just post up like comics I'm like reading or things I'm excited about or how much of a massive shithead Blizzard is being right now.
Yeah. I feel like that could be a topic.
I also found out that Vans is a fucking shithead, and I love Vans, and it makes me sad.
Oh, what's Vans doing? Actually, don't tell me.
The same shithead thing.
Oh, god damn it.
I don't know, but we can talk about it later on. So
different podcast.
Yep. All right. So we will catch you guys next time.
I love you.
Fuck Blizzard.
Yeah, man.
Welcome to the Phantom Zone.